My son filed harassment charges against me and my husband because I demanded he pay back the money he wasted instead of using it for college. Me and my son, 19 male, moved to the United States last year. I was a single mom for 16 years before I met and married my husband. I saved up money so he can go to college. Where I came from, college is very important. We moved to a small town and my son found new friends. These friends, in my opinion, were not a good influence. I am used to polite and academically oriented kids back home. These new friends of his make fun of his books and his plans of going to college. Before his high school graduation, me and my husband took him to several universities in the state so he could get a feel for which one he would like to go to. Then after he graduated from high school, I told him I have about $20,000 saved up for college. He said it is not going to fit because tuition is pretty expensive nowadays. I suggested he can just go to a community college 20 minutes away and live at home to save money. He agreed and I gave him access to the fund joint account. Long story short, he did not enroll himself and instead started partying a lot and used the money on expensive dates with his girlfriend. He moved out and stopped talking to me. I worked hard to save that up for more than a decade and I am upset that he wasted it in less than a year. Me and my husband went to his place and asked that he pay me back since it is specifically for college and not fun money. He called the police and filed harassment charges. I told the police to review the CCTV footage because the whole time I was talking to him through his ring cam, I was calm and reasonable and my husband was just standing behind me not saying anything. I was outside the door talking, he never even opened the door to talk to me face to face. The police said there's nothing he can do if my son and his girlfriend felt harassed, he can file a restraining order if he wants to. Back home, this is unforgivable to treat your parent like this. But here in the United States, I was treated almost like a criminal. My sister-in-law said it is my fault for confronting him and that the money is his to spend since I made him a joint account owner. Am I wrong? Edit. People cursing me because I said something about wanting to throw my chancla on my son's face. To be clear, I have never laid my hands or my flip-flops on him ever. But after what he did, my intrusive thoughts wants me to throw it, but of course I won't. If he called the cops on me just because I want to talk to him, what more if I threw my flip-flops on his face? His relationship with me before moving to the United States was fine. He knew my struggle as a single mom and he always tried to help me around the house. I was not strict at all, he was free to go out with friends anytime. He was even thrilled to have a father figure and my husband always tried to make him feel included in everything. Update: I still have not heard from my son and I don't expect him to reach out. But his girlfriend's mother has called me asking if my house is still open to him. I asked her why, and it turns out he hasn't paid his share of the last month's rent and his girlfriend had to pay it for him. I said it is not my problem and he is not welcome anymore in my house since he is an adult. The girlfriend's mom said what kind of mother would not extend help to his teenage son? She further insulted me and said now she knows why he left me. At this point I really don't care anymore. I tried to help him get a good start in life but he wasted it. Aside from the $20,000, he lived rent-free in the house, free food, free phone, car, gas money, and I pay all the utility bills and his health insurance. All I asked is that he focus on his studies and finish at least an associate's degree so he can get a decent job and be fully independent from me as soon as possible. For some who ask why college is so important to me. As an immigrant, we are held under certain standards. We have to prove to USCIS that we will not become a public charge, meaning we won't rely on any government aid. I want him to be able to be a good immigrant and become productive. I don't even know if he can become a citizen if he makes below poverty income. I was just trying to make sure he gets to live a good life. Some of you asked if he even wanted to go to college. Back when we were in our home country, he begged me to please send him to college no matter what, so at least then he was totally on board. P.S. The harassment charge was closed for lack of evidence of harassment. A lot of what he said were lies. Edit. Another thing that gave me chills was when he moved out. It was the middle of the night and me and my husband were both asleep. My son left the front door hanging open. I saw it in the camera. We live in a small town but there's a lot of crime in our area. Someone could have gone in and done something bad. Edit 2. People assuming things about my husband being an abuser. He is not. He is a very nice man and it is insulting to even assume that he can be abusive. Also, he drives a truck for a living and is not home all the time. When he is home, all he does is catch up on his sleep or tend to his garden or hang out with me for a bit before he goes out again. I work from home so I know what goes on in the house all the time. We also have cameras inside that I can view anytime from my phone. I never saw anything out of the ordinary. Besides that, my son was always with his friends, rarely had a chance to spend time with me or my husband. Also, my son left in the middle of the night because prior to that I asked him for a copy of his transcript and receipts and he most likely panicked because he made me believe he was taking classes. I have been bugging him for updates. Also, I didn't check the balance on that account because I didn't have the bank app installed. Boomer mindset, sorry. And he also made the statement paperless. Again, he got the statement sent to his email. I have a separate bank account that I use for my personal needs. Update 2. His girlfriend's mom called me again today and basically handed the phone to my son to sort it out between us. I let him just talk and tell me what is on his mind. Here's a summary of his point of view. He felt like I deprived him of a lot of things growing up. I couldn't buy him an Xbox or PlayStation, iPhone, or anything a teenager wants when we were in our home country. I couldn't afford it. Back then I was making $1,000 a month and saving 20% of it for his college fund, and whatever was left was for us to live on. I was helping my parents too with some groceries, so money was really tight. When I look back now, I don't know how I made it all fit. He felt so small because his clothes were hand-me-downs from cousins or just cheap clothes I bought from Tianguis. He said I was not supportive, unlike his friends' parents. Some of his friends have wealthy parents who bought their sons a house and never had to go to college or think about their future because they will inherit the family farm anyway. I have no generational wealth to be that supportive. I wish I did. He said I have so many house rules. Yes, I do. I want him to wash his plates after eating. I used to do it for him. Clean his room and keep it tidy. Make sure the windows are tightly shut in the winter. Keep the thermostat at 68 during the winter to save electricity. Come home at 11 p.m. or else the house will be double locked from the inside for my safety, because my husband drives a truck and not home at night most of the time. I also told him before that since he has a part-time job, he can't use my credit card for anything but emergency anymore, but he still used it sometimes anyway. The card's been frozen since he moved out. I asked him why file charges when I only wanted some explanation from him. He said he didn't want to inconvenience his GF, and filing charges is the easiest way to get me to stop trying to talk to him. So basically he felt deprived as a kid and that he thinks he was just healing his inner child when he spent the money. He said his friends told him I owe that to him for bringing him to this world. He thinks that I should not have a child if I can't afford these things. I asked him why he left the door open that night. He went silent for a few seconds, then said I just thought that if the house got robbed, I could just say I cashed the money from the bank and the robbers must have found it. Unbelievable. At this point I was so emotional and I was a crying mess. I told him I am deeply sorry that I was his mom and that he had to grow up feeling deprived because I was poor. Then he said, "Oh, stop with your guilt tripping, you are saying that to make me feel bad." Oh, and he also said he hates it when I bug him to get up and help me set the table. I never get a response, so I have to raise my voice higher. He said I was so rude, but he grew up with this. This is me being me. All moms back home do this. All of a sudden he is comparing me to his mom's friends. In our culture we want food to be eaten while it is fresh from the stove. I spent 1 hour cooking after a long day at work. The least you can do is help me set the table and eat my food while it's nice and warm. I hung up. My heart is broken in so many pieces.